you guys a little background on me. My name is Nash. I'm a physical therapist. I work at Capital Physical Therapy. That is right in town, right in between Quick Trip and Sherwin-Williams.
Yeah, I
You guys
know
what
where
that
it
is?
is.
Yeah, so I've been there for approximately 3 months. I'm the clinic director over there. I was working just north of Madison for a couple years, but I had done my internship with this company and I really like what the company's about. So came back here about 3 months ago, kind of getting integrated with the community, and so far I'm loving it. But let's get into a little bit of just kind of the overview for, why is this important? Why are we doing a talk on fall prevention? I think that's pretty common knowledge we know. Hi there.
Hi.
How are ya?
Good.
Come on in, take a seat.
Pretty good
right there.
time, he's just started.
That's perfect time, yep.
Okay.
What's your name?
Therese.
Therese, I'm Nash. We're just literally getting started.
Oh,
You got a comfy chair, good call.
keep this out of your way.
So I don't fall, right?
Exactly. So we'll talk about some of the stats. What's the problem looking like with falls? Why is it important? Why do falls happen? What are the different reasons why it happens? What are some of the contributors? And what are some things? This is really the important part. Is what can we do to take action? Right? What can we do to reduce our risk of having one of the different types of falls? Because when you look at it and we break it down and see the different reasons, we'll see that each of them is very preventable. It's just understanding what do we do about it, right? So this is some of the stats, and as you look over here, I know it's written kind of small there, but what we have is within Dane County, which is there's been some research recently published showing that Dane County is one of the higher counties in the country for fall rates. Okay, we do have ice a decent percentage of the year, which that never helps, but regardless, it's a larger issue in Dane County than it is, across the state. So especially with this right here. So not only are the falls higher, but the kind of lingering effects after falls in terms of death rate after falls is twice the average across the country. So we'll see that that's high. In 1 in 4 adults over the age of 65 have a fall each year. It's staggering, and it's a little bit lower for 60 and above, but it's still in that 70% range, or 20% range. So it certainly is an issue, especially here locally for us.
So do they know why? Why are we so?
Yeah, so that's one thing that
fall?
there's a lot of factors that go into it. It doesn't. I read the article even again this morning, taking a look at it, and they don't really break down where each of the falls kind of come from. We'll go into the different reasons for it. I think that certainly ice is a piece of it. There could be some community things in terms of accessible handrails or things like that can go into it. I think that another piece of it that could be is alcohol consumption is a little bit higher in the state of Wisconsin. That's me speculating. I don't know that for a fact, so take it with a grain of salt. But I don't know for sure, but I know that there are a lot of different pieces that can kind of play into this. Well, that's a good question. Any other questions on this? No? Couple. All right, so we'll break down each of these as we go, but just generally as an overview, some reasons why falls happen is, we have a loss of balance. Balance being the issue. Is it balance when you're standing in place or as you're moving? Different types of balance. We'll break that down. Tripping or slipping, just kind of paying attention to the surroundings, taking some of those avoidable fall risks out of play. Dizziness comes from several different factors. Could be, medications, could be several other things. We'll break that down a little bit later. Or also not having appropriate support or strength, right? Is it like I see you use a walker there, right?
Yes.
That's excellence, But it goes more than just having a walker. It's do we use it? When do we use it? Is it fit correctly? Do we know how to use it properly? Things like that. Also utilizing others, right? Knowing your limitations. Once again, we'll touch a little bit more on that later. So when we talk about balance is something that is, kind of misunderstood, I think, by a lot of people because a lot of different factors play into balance, right? It's not just you have balance or you don't, right? There are several pieces, all of which become affected as we get older. The first one is vision here, okay? So no mystery there, right? We all, as we age, we start to lose our vision a little bit, whether it's close up whether it's far away, whether it's both, you know, things like that. Darkness, another issue as well. I can't tell you how many times I hear about people who have a fall when they're getting up to go to the bathroom in the morning, right? Because they don't flip their lights on, they just kind of touch around as they're walking. Right there, I see is a very avoidable one, right? Going downstairs when people have bifocal lenses, right? As you look down and it kind of messes with your vision a little bit and then your judgment for going down a step. Another thing there where we can do some things, you know, whether it's moving your glasses a little bit, taking them off, whatever it might be, to avoid some of that stuff. So the first one there, vision, okay? Second one, proprioception. Sure, we're not familiar with that word, but basically what it is joint sense, okay? It is, if I'm standing there with my eyes closed and I have my arm out here, how do I know that it's there? There are little receptors in all of our joints that tell us where that limb is in space, okay? And when we're doing, you know, when we're walking or doing stairs or walking on grass, you know, when it's a little bit, kind of a little bit more mushy ground and it's tougher, joint sense plays a huge role. This is something that we're able to train, right? We can do things that challenge some of those receptors so that maybe walking on grass is a little bit easier, okay? Vestibular being the last one. That is, if you think about dizziness, like vertigo, right? If you've ever had it where you're changing positions and you feel the room spinning a little bit, that's your vestibular system. That tells us where our head is in space, okay? So we'll touch a little bit more on that as we go though. Any questions on any of these? Does this make sense?
That's a good plan.
Yeah, balance is a combination of these three things. It's not just one. Pretty equally divided between them. If one is affected, the other two have to pick up the slack in order to keep your balance at the same level. If that's not able to happen, we notice the decline in balance. Fair? All right, tripping, slipping. This one, in my opinion, is the most, you know, avoidable, right? It's basically let's use our external things, you know, to limit the risk of us having a fall. One is proper footwear. Okay, a lot of people I hear is walking around, you know, wood floors and socks. I've heard that several times, right? They have socks that have little grippers on them, or even barefoot. A lot of times it's better than just going in socks. But that's a huge one right there that I hear all the time. Okay, clearing your home of clutter or dangerous rugs, right? A lot of times as well, catching your toe on a rug that's kind of peeled up a little bit, very common. Catching your toe on a step or a ledge, things like that, being aware of that. You know, obviously you're not going to clear the room of ledges and things, but really knowing your surroundings, because funny enough, not funny, but ironically enough, 80% of falls happen where people live. So it's terrain that we're familiar with, right? Knowing where those ledges are, knowing, you talked about curbs when you walk around town, you know, being aware of those, you know, taking your time with them, not just, you know, flying through it, right? And having the chance of catching your toe on it. Another thing, arm support. Okay, arm support in bathrooms, showers, near stairs, use those things. They're there for a reason. And if you're using them in a community place, like, you know, this is a great example, and you notice maybe it's a little bit loose or flimsy, something like that, alert somebody, okay? Because it's not just you that's affecting. A lot of people use those and rely on those to get around different community places. Salting and shoveling appropriately, especially this time of year. Can't emphasize that one enough. I know it's not always, you may not be the one doing it, but communicating it. You know, it's serious, especially as we get those, you know, kind of fluctuations in weather where it's cold, stuff melts, and then we get the 0-degree days, which everybody loves, right? And then the ice forms, and then lighting. We touched on that as well. Using light switches so that we're able to see what's around in case there's clutter or rug, things like that. Questions on any of that? Dizziness. Dizziness is something that is kind of, has a lot of different reasons for it. I'll start with this one, vertigo. Vertigo is the one we talked about with the vestibular system. If you're changing positions in bed and you feel spinning happening, okay? Becomes common as we age, more and more so. This is something that if you notice that, we treat that, and we're very effective with it. A couple sessions, a lot of times we can get that stuff taken care of. But generally that's when it is if you're bending down, okay, to tie your shoes, room spins. Or you're laying on your back and you turn, room spins. That's the classic vertigo dizziness, okay? When that happens, usually afterwards, there's some kind of imbalance. Feels like you're walking on a boat a little bit. blood pressure, okay? How about if we're changing positions? You're sitting for longer periods and you stand up, feel a little lightheaded? Anyone had any of that happen to them before? Or you're laying down and you sit up for a little while and, whoa, kind of see stars for a second? So as we lay down, our blood pressure changes as we get up. Sometimes you need a second to get that blood back up to your head, and it can cause some of that dizziness. I've heard that quite a few times as well. Someone's sitting for a while, and they get up and start walking right away, and then they have that kind of sense of, whoa, you know, kind of seeing some spots for a second, and then they have an episode there. You know that if that stuff's going on, you got to take a second. Let the blood kind of get back up to your head, and then go on. Okay? Medications as well. That's something that, you know, I certainly don't specialize in at all. That's really your primary care. But if you're having, you know, some fresh symptoms kind of come on, and you know that you had a medication change sometimes, that can be a role as well, along with your hydration level. Okay, it's important to stay hydrated. Anything on this one at all, guys? Okay. Support. We talked about support with your walker, for instance, the other day. I know that it's never a fun conversation right away when, you know, we think it's appropriate that you use a cane or a walker, or, you know, maybe a combination, a couple things, because it's taking away someone's independence a little bit. But I think that understanding when it's appropriate, even if it's just for going out to the grocery store, or walking to the mall, or, you know, whatever it might be, so that you have that appropriate device when you need it, okay? And not just that, but are you using it properly? You know, when you first started using does your walker have 2 or 4 wheels on it?
It's got the 2 wheels and then the skid on the back.
And the skid on the back.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that's pretty nice. That one's a little bit more self-explanatory, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen the ones with 4 wheels, right?
Have
Have you ever seen those before?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
I've seen them,
Yeah.
yeah.
And those have brakes on them, right? And
Yes, I know.
yeah, they do it. And a lot of times those, you know, people, they kind of get them and they just go off to the races with them, where they don't utilize those brakes appropriately, and, you know, those can get out in front of you a little bit. Or those, have you seen the big clunky canes that have like the 4 pegs on them as well?
Yeah.
Those are another ones, right? You can kick those pretty easily. They're kind of big and goofy and awkward a little bit. So, you know, knowing how do we use these things the right way so that it's not even more of a hazard, you know, it's helpful. So that's something that we certainly like to address right off the bat, okay? Arm support where it's needed, we talked about that a little bit already. Stairs, hallways, using it when you see it. If there's any issues with it, reporting that to somebody and letting people know. And then using assistance from others. You know, I know that we all like to maintain our independence, do everything on our own, but knowing that, you know, if you had issues with like getting out of a car, for example, and you're with someone else who's driving, ask them for a hand. Use the grab bars up there. Taking advantage of everything that's around you so that you're able to, you know, reduce the risk of having something happen. Okay, this is another one that a lot of times is not addressed, and I think it's such an important piece of it because it's a cycle, it really is. So a lot of times this cycle starts right here. You have a fall, right? You have an incident, okay? Even if it's something that you don't really consider like a major one. You didn't have an injury, you didn't hit your head or your hip or anything like that. It changes how you approach whatever that activity was. If you're walking on grass, you're gonna be a lot more hesitant the next time you're walking on grass. Can we all relate a little bit to this at least? Right, so then what happens is we start to be a little bit fearful of that. Maybe it's just of that activity, maybe it's of a lot of things. You know, sometimes it kind of spreads and, you know, I don't even want to do stairs now because I think stairs are harder than walking on grass. So, you know, we start to eliminate things from our daily lives, or we significantly modify how we're doing them, which is leading us to being a little bit less active, some inactivity. Right? As that inactivity sits in, we start to become less strong, less conditioned, right? Which is why, you know, I love that you're telling me you walk all the time, you walk everywhere. You know, if I can make one recommendation to people, it's walk more. You know, it's especially doing it in different areas too, right? It's one thing walking, you know, in the hallways, right? That's going to be, it is how it is, right? And that's better than nothing, don't get me wrong. But if you're walking outside, if you're managing curbs, if you're walking on grass, you know, you have all sorts of different challenges. That is fantastic, and I hope that you keep that up because it's super important, and it's going to be one of the better things that you can do for your balance too. Okay, But back to this here, so that we lose some strength, we lose some of that aerobic conditioning that comes with being more active, further increases our fear of falling, because now we're noticing more issues, okay? We're noticing our strength is reduced when we're getting up and down out of a chair now, because I haven't been doing those stairs. I haven't been, walking as much. Our legs are getting weaker, okay? And then right back into more falls, and it just continues to go, right? You have a second fall, you're gonna start eliminating more things, and on, okay? So this is one thing that I think is, really overlooked. The balance and all that stuff, sure, it's very important from eliminating this first fall, right? But a lot of times, we don't notice issues with our balance and stuff, or if we do, we don't give it too much credit the first time. It's usually there after we've started eliminating things from, I won't walk unless I'm holding on to something on both sides, or even in your apartment or house, holding on to furniture, okay?
Yeah.
Right, and that right there is, we're starting to get in there. And for some people, that's appropriate. If you have some of those things that contribute to issues with your balance, yeah, then let's get an assisted device, let's always have it there, let's use the furniture, fine. But if we are really fearful and inactive, those are things right there that aren't necessarily due to just our aging, right? Or the balance issues, or the medications and things like that. That is more so kind of an internal thing. And if we can start addressing that stuff early by gradually a gradual progression of getting you to doing some of that stuff in a safe environment, then we can avoid a lot of this stuff here, okay? So that is really what, like if I have a patient who comes in for balance issues, I want to first, let's learn about your falls, okay? Let's do some of those screens for that other stuff, make sure, see how big of a contributor that is. But now tell me, what are you afraid of doing, okay? And then let's start really low level, something you feel comfortable doing, you got arm support, I'm right there spotting you, let's start there. When you can crush that, let's make it a little bit harder, okay? Good. Keep making it harder. Before you know it, you're doing that stuff without even thinking about it, okay? And that's really where you get the huge successes, is getting people over some of that, knowing their limitations still, but getting them out of this cycle, okay? Because this can be really nasty once it really sets in. Questions on that? Okay, we touched a little bit on it already, but how we can help, okay? First off, I think is really educating them, educating whoever it is on what can we do at home to avoid some really easy, some falls that are just like no-brainer kind of things, right? Can we clean up some rugs? Can we talk about your footwear? Okay? Can we get you on a program where you're staying hydrated, where you got something in your belly if you're going to be a little bit more active, okay? So that you can be a little bit more aware, things like that. Assisted device. If you got one, let's make sure you're using it right. Let's fit it to you. If not, let's talk about whether you need one or not, okay? Even if it's for part of the time. Let's at least have that chat, all right? Dizziness, strength, balance. We chatted about those too. Strength is something that everyone that I see that is, generally over the age of 60, we're going to be doing strength training. Everyone has their areas where they can improve on strength, especially in a functional aspect, right? So I want to get my patients up and standing, right? No one has falls when they're just laying on their back doing leg raises, okay? That's pretty safe, right? We may start there, start to build some strength that way, but really, let's get you up, right? Let's have you walking. Let's have you, doing things where maybe you're not used to. Maybe you're walking sideways. Maybe you're walking backwards, right? Maybe you're standing in one spot and you got to move your head around, right? Not many people have falls doing this either. This, sure, that I've seen. Going down and tie your shoes, oh, right? So if we're just standing there doing this, even if you're standing on a goofy pad, that's not what I want to have you doing. Let's have you doing some things that are realistic. Let's have you doing some things that are mimicking how in the past maybe you've had falls, okay? And then let's find what you're fearful of, all right? And we're not going to go, oh, you're afraid of stairs? All right, let's go do some stairs. I'm not going to do that, okay? That's fun for nobody either, right? Let's start with, maybe we'll just do some taps, right? Then we'll go up to maybe a 2-inch step, stepping up, and then we'll progress to stairs. But that's really where I see us having the biggest impact. Questions here at all? Okay, and now I want to go over just a couple basic exercises that you guys can implement now, okay? Here's a list of 4 and we'll go through them one by one. If you want to do some here, great. If not, we can just chat about them. Okay, the first one is the most basic one. I give this to majority of my patients, okay? And I'm not talking just my balance patients. I'm talking people with back pain, people with ankle pain, knee pain, hip pain, right? It's a great strengthener. It's a squat, is what it is. Got 100 different ways we can make this squat harder too, but this is the base level one, okay? In this picture, they're not using their arms. Feel free to use your arms if that's where you want to start at. But what it is generally I'll have my patients do this. I'll demonstrate it for you. We'll go feet shoulder width apart, okay? And we'll start here if you need it. But if we're using arms, I don't want this, okay? Where I'm pushing all up with the arms, okay? This is supposed to be a leg and core workout. So if you're going to use your arms, a little bit to push yourself forward, where the legs are doing the work to get you up, okay? So I want you to, you'll be leaning your chest forward, a little push forward, and then you're going to stand up all the way straight. Get all the way through those hips, okay? If we're doing here, right, we're not stretching out those hips, okay? Tight hips, big player in back pain, right? Back pain's prevalent everywhere. It's like fall prevention too. It's, you know, so anything that we can do to prevent that and be on the forefront of it and get some balance training with it, grand slam one, okay? Goal for it, 10 reps in a row, okay? Don't be in a rush with it, but as 10 reps gets easy, you can progress it very easily. Do a butt tap to the chair, okay? If you're someone that works out, you go and you work on mobility quite a bit, do you do much strength training?
No strength, I do the mobility things where I do lightweight, high repetition.
Great, yep, and I think that that's excellent. Do you do any sort of squat variation?
Well, no, not to the point where, but when I do lift like a bar, they taught me how to kneel down and pick it up.
Sure, sure. I think this would be a nice one to add in. Think about the equipment you need for it.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a chair, right? So something that's very universal in terms of who can do it. You know, do it at home. And if that's stuff to do there, boost it up a little bit, put a pillow on the chair. Okay? Outstanding exercise for balance. Functional, strength-based, works on, you know, kind of that dynamic movement balance.
So I took the stepping on class
Awesome.
here and doing that. So I have a knee issue and it hurts to, you know.
Sure.
So he did recommend putting a pillow on the chair
Yeah,
to raise it up because our dining room chairs are so too low. Anyway, so that helped.
totally.
Just putting the chair up,
It's something else that you can do. Is it your right or left knee?
right?
Right knee. Is this, and you may do it subconsciously already, but if you're gonna go, you know, if this is the normal starting spot, kick whatever the bad knee is slightly forward. Okay? Now you're not getting in that deep knee bend angle.
Right,
That's
exactly.
what's irritating for the knee a lot of times.
Right.
Another thing that you can think about is really pushing through your heels a little bit more. As we come here, right, a lot of times this is a common position. If you look at me from the side, does that look comfortable on my knees?
No.
Right? That's no good. You keep pressure through your heels, you're using your hip more, okay? It's all about distributing the force, okay? If all that force is on the knee, not gonna feel good. If you share it between your hip and knee, it's a lot better, and you're still getting that strength piece with it.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah,
Something
yeah.
that
Yeah,
you should
yeah.
try.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, let me know
Thank
how
you.
it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you have a question?
No.
Okay. All right, next one is just it's a static balance one, okay? So it's standing with one foot in front of the other. If you're gonna try this one, have arm support there. Put a chair there, okay? If this is too much while you're doing it, what you can do is you can stagger your feet a little bit. So you're still, I'll come over here and show you, instead of being here, right, that's a little bit tougher, here, or here. And then as you're able to do this, 20, 30 seconds, start to make it a little bit tougher here. Go here, go there, okay? And not just standing there, you know, I think that you guys would probably be able to do this, right? That's not too bad. Try this, okay? there's a little wobbliness, there should be, right? It's challenging your base of support and it's challenging your balance. There's supposed to be some wobbliness there. But at the same time, you want to be safe. So if you're uncomfortable, you got something there. Okay, you want to do it up against a wall or even in a corner of a room, you got something there, okay? But this is a really nice starter one, and as you feel comfortable, start working your hands away, okay? One thing that I can't stress enough is as you do better with these exercises, you have to make them harder, okay? If you do the same ones and you're getting used to them, and you just stay with the same reps or the same time frame or whatever, you're gonna stay about the same there. You gotta up the ante, okay? So whether that's less hands, whether that's you do it on a folded bath towel or whatever that may be, up the ante with it, okay? Same thing with this one. I put a goal of 10 in a row. For some people, that's really tough. For some people, that's pretty easy. If that's easy, your goal is no longer 10. Your goal is 20, right? Or your goal is 2 sets of 10. Or it's, let's hold a small weight here, you know? It's always upping the ante with it, okay?
Do you suggest record keeping?
I do, absolutely. Because then you can see your goals,
Yeah.
right? A lot of times I will recommend getting some sort of step counter too, right? Because then you have objective data. You see exactly what you did that week, and then you go, okay, this week's gonna be better. I'm gonna beat it, whether it's steps, whether it's how many squats I do, whatever it might be, you're gonna beat that number. But that's kind of how I, register things in terms of going for goals. I know that that's not everybody's. Some people would rather just see the improvements with going up the stairs. So for those people, I'll make that recommendation, but it's not for everybody. But yeah, I think that it's really nice to have a journal going along where you can see exactly what you did that week, so that then you can try to beat it. Cool, good question. Next
That's
one
what they have me doing down there.
is keeping a journal.
Yeah.
Perfect, that's
I
awesome.
laughed at first, because why do I have to write it down? You'll see, that's
Yeah.
all it would take.
Yep.
And after about 3 weeks, I saw how I was improving.
Yeah, yep, and that, it keeps you going, doesn't it?
Well, I kept paying them.
Yeah, exactly. For sure. But that's
That's the
awesome.
thing, it costs money to go there.
Totally.
Not a lot, but,
Yeah.
it's just like coming to see you.
Sure, sure. So, sidestepping's the next one. So we talked a little bit about this one. It's something that, it's more of a dynamic movement, and it's something that we don't do every day, right? It's anytime that we're doing things outside of our normal comfort zone, there's gonna be a little bit of instability with that. So like with this one here, we'll always start with doing it. We have a set of parallel bars that we'll start there. Hold on, get comfortable with it. Go back and forth a couple times. Okay, feeling good with that? All right, go one hand, okay? And if you're gonna be doing this one at home or around here, find a railing or a countertop, okay? Start with using your hands. There's nothing wrong with that. It's all about getting comfortable. But by the end of, you go back and forth a couple times, by the end of it, challenge yourself. If one hand's still feeling pretty easy, go 2 fingers on that hand, okay? Sliding along. And then eventually, no hands, okay? And then changing directions as you go. A lot of times as my patients start to get good at this, they start to get bored with it, I'll have them go and I'm gonna tell them to change directions. Change. They're gonna annoyed with me then, but that's okay. Because I'm challenging them, they have to react. It's another level that's tough in terms of balance, okay? I usually say go 25 feet each direction for that one, but once again, that's relative, okay? If that's easy, that doesn't challenge you, do a couple more. Questions on that one? Easy enough, right?
Well, sorta.
Easy enough in terms of your ability, you don't need anything else. You don't need a machine, you don't need any resistance. It is a tough movement.
Yeah.
Yep, it definitely is. And it challenges a lot of different joints with it. So that's another thing that I really like about it. Cool. All right, last one is a heel raise. This picture is cut off, which I don't love. Let's see. Well, I'll just show you how about. Heel raise is just like it sounds. Is you are going to go up, you're going to use some arm support, and you're going to go up on your tiptoes, okay? The first joint that reacts when you're doing dynamic things or when your balance is challenged is your ankle, right? Your ankle is right there. It's called your ankle strategy, which kicks in first. If you get a little So you're standing outside and you got a big gust of wind, right? Your ankle is gonna be the first one that kind of reacts to it. So ankle strength and the reaction of it, super important for some of the basic stuff that we don't really think too much about with maintaining balance. So a lot of times we'll start with some of that stuff, building the strength in the joints that we think are most important, hips being other ones, super important for it. And that's for, more of the bigger, if you're getting pushed and you gotta take that step, that's big. But we can't really have that if we don't have good, strong ankles, right? And have that reaction. So we'll do things on unstable surfaces as well. We have a pad that is kind of foam, and it's really goofy, and your ankles have to be able to react on that guy. But that's a little bit higher level. We'll do some other kind of different goofy surfaces to work on that ankle strategy. But this one really nice because you don't need any equipment. You can do it at home. All you need is a chair or a wall right here where you can just kind of lean against it. Don't worry too much about your balance while you're doing this. This is a strengthening exercise. So if you want to lean, if you want to go here on the wall, that's fine. As long as we're going up on those tiptoes, trying to get full range of motion and back down. Now if you want to work a little bit more on the balance with it, you want to try hands on the wall, great. You're still getting that strength, and now you're getting a little bit of that joint sense stuff that we talked about before, the proprioception.
I can just imagine what Ellen would say if I put my greasy hands on her wall.
I just wash my hands, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That game you play at home?
Yeah. But then use a chair, right? You might need a little bigger chair.
Or, well, she's sending me out to the garage.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Any questions on that exercise? Okay. And then at the end of this year, I wanted to give you guys a couple ideas for some other things some other resources in the area, okay? Stepping on, you spoke about that before. How was it for you?
It was good.
Yeah? Do you guys know about stepping on at
I've
all?
heard about it, but I know they have it here every now and then.
They do, yeah. Would you mind expanding a little bit on,
Yeah, so
what it
it's-
was?
For here, it was like $35 for 7 weeks.
Yeah.
And you go
Well, that's
once-
reasonable.
Once a week, so it's like $5 a week. And then they cover most of those exercises plus some.
Oh yeah, it's a lot more.
They talk about footwear, they have a police officer come and talk about safety on the streets. They have physical therapists come and talk about various things. They talk about how to get in and out of a car. Had somebody from the Association for the Blind talk about visual aids that are available. Excuse me. Yeah, the PT talked about the various canes and walkers and how to use them. I thought it was really helpful.
Sounds interesting.
It's like 2 hours once a week for 7 weeks, and they provide snacks.
That's the best part of it.
And water, and hydration.
Not
Oh,
coffee though, huh?
No, just
See, I'm
water.
a poor Norwegian. I
Yeah,
always
you don't
have-
have, well, the coffee's right there.
Oh, okay.
They have it in that big room, so the coffee's right there.
So,
Oh, it's
yeah, the
nearby.
coffee is right,
Yeah.
right handy.
Yeah,
Right.
Hannah and I, we.
They also had a pharmacist come and talk about meds,
Yeah,
which
that's
you mentioned
awesome.
too, because there's a lot of meds that affect your balance.
Yep.
It was very good.
Sounds
I
great.
recommend it.
Thank you. And I was even looking here, in case you guys had some questions on it, I took a look at some of the stepping on programs coming up. So there's one on January 9th in Oregon, in the Oregon Senior Center. January 28th in Cottage Grove. And then there's one that's April 2nd, and that's in Madison. Okay, so just some things that are coming in the future. I'm working on I'm gonna be involved next year for the stepping on program here. Okay, so I'll be a part of that and be teaching the courses here. So, but I'll definitely, get some stuff out here, some flyers or whatever, so that if you guys are interested, you can, get
Yeah,
involved
get in
and
our
sign.
Bible that they make once a month.
Yeah?
It's a booklet that they give to us of all the activities,
Yeah,
and it explains things.
and it's pretty well read.
It's like a news.
Yeah, okay,
They,
good.
they even put it at Miller's for those who don't
Okay.
come here as often.
I'll definitely get in that, okay? Couple other things here. Have you guys heard of Ballroom Basics for Balance? Have you taken that?
No,
So I have a handout up here on Ballroom Basics for Balance. So I'm a part of the Fall Prevention Task Force here, and that's the people who run that also run this course. And last time we were there, we did some of the steps for it and kind of learned some of the basics of it. awesome. The ladies that run it, fantastic. They do a really, really good job. So if you guys have any questions or want more information, please grab one of these before you leave, okay? Tai Chi is another one that is super popular because,
They have that here too. don't
Awesome.
they?
Right, I have not gone.
I've never participated, but I know they have.
They have it here.
Wonderful.
They do feature that here.
yep, and that's great for it because it gets you moving in different directions, right? Gets you doing motions that aren't every day, right? So that's what's awesome about Tai Chi, and even doing walking groups, right? Get a group of friends, you know, obviously this time of year it's not the most desirable, I get that, but going for walks, you know, it can be social as well, but getting out and getting moving, having something that's on your schedule where you're like, oh, it's Tuesday, it's 10 o'clock, I'm going for a walk, you know, I'm going with the group, and then you hold each other accountable with it. I think that's huge, kind of taking control and you know, getting some other people involved. Not only do you may meet some other people, but you know, a lot of health improvements when you're just going for a walk. So,
You know, this time of year is really tough,
mhm.
you know, as far as the ice and
Yep.
the wet
Totally.
leaves and all that. It's hard to go out and go for a walk. But if I'm with somebody, like if, you know, I take my sister,
Yeah.
if we go together, I'm much more comfortable because if one of us starts to
Well,
slip, the other one can, or else we
yeah,
both go down.
Yeah, you have company, and if something happens,
Right.
there's somebody there, right there to,
And a worst passable, you know, scenario,
Yeah.
she can call 911 for me.
yeah.
And that's another set of eyes looking for obstacles or holes or
Right.
in the
Yeah.
pavement or whatever.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, good, yeah, good.
Totally. Also, another thing that I want to let you guys know is starting in January, don't have the firm dates yet, but over at our place on Capitol, physical therapy over there, we're going to be doing a senior exercise class, okay?
Is that the one that was $5 for a session?
So what it is the first time you come, it's free. If you bring a friend the next time, it's free again. So if you keep bringing a different friend, it's free the whole time,
Oh,
right?
well,
But if you just come and it's your second session and you're not bringing anyone with you, then it's $5, yeah. And we'll have snacks and you know, drinks.
Yeah, we
and
have
stuff
some
like
friends at Coffee that told us about that.
Yep, so just keep an eye out, I'll let people here know, so maybe it can make it into the Bible that you were talking about, but,
Well, they don't call it, we call it the Bible.
you call it the Bible,
It's a
okay.
newsletter.
The newsletter, okay, so I'll try to get in the
They
newsletter.
always correct me when I call it the Bible, but
Yeah.
it's a joke.
Yeah, so that'll be coming here shortly though, and it'll be, you know, a scaled back version of the Stepping On program, where, you know, we may not be bringing in all of the awesome stuff that she talked about, but it'll be, you know, dynamic movements, we'll be doing some balance, we'll be doing some strength, you know, if you guys have input, we will always be taking that input, and it'll be just right down the road. So, and that'll be at all of our Capitol clinics, so, you know, I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you guys live in the area, but if not, or you know some friends that live in other ones, you know, we have locations in Mount Horeb, we have them in Madison, we have them in Sun Prairie, Wanakee, all over, and they'll be happening there, okay? So just something to keep an eye out for.
And plus, you just walk to Culver's for coffee afterwards.
Exactly. You just don't get enough coffee, do you?
I'm a Port Norwegian.
You just
Live on
do.
coffee.
Always caffeinated, I love it. Okay, so with
So,
that,
do you have suggestions, you know, based on, you know, your collective wisdom of dealing with people who fall, stuff in the wintertime to keep yourself safe, like
totally.
yak tracks or other stuff, or how do you take walks in the winter without winding on your butt?
Yeah, I think that the first thing that I would say is if you need an assistive device, and even if you don't feel like it, having a cane, just like a standard single point cane, it's another point of contact, okay? And it's nice, if you lose your balance a little bit, it's a lot easier to catch yourself if you got a cane versus nothing. Yak tracks are awesome though, yeah, especially if it's, you know, you're going through a spot that's super icy, those can be hugely effective. But really, it depends on the person, you know, because, you know, we just talked about all the different things that can contribute to a fall. I would like to give kind of a broad overview statement, but it really does depend, you know. I think that any sort of exercise that you're able to do indoors is only going to help you when you get out and doing
In
that.
the spring.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. But that would be my biggest recommendation. Otherwise,
If I may,
Yeah.
I go to Farm and Fleet and buy a good pair of rubbers to put over my shoes.
Uh-huh,
And they wear out quick. but they got that, they're made for farmers who walk in the barn and stuff.
Oh, like
And
totes or something.
And it's,
that go over
yeah,
the shoe.
and look at the bottom of it, it's
Okay.
layered so that as you walk, it's like a suction type thing. And I even feel safe on ice, but
So are those in the shoe section?
it's in the boot section.
In the boot section?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's on, when you go in the main door, turn to the right, walk back to the farm
Right.
area. And, no, they're about $12, but mine will last me, and I walk every day,
Uh-huh.
about 3 months before
That's pretty good.
the bottom wears out, where you can tell the difference when it wears out, because when I walked, when they're
Yeah.
new,
Yeah.
wow, I feel like I'm dancing, because
Uh-huh.
I feel so
Yes,
safe.
okay. And I get, probably the better thing, those are better than Yak Tracks, because like if I walk to Miller's, you can't go in the store with Yak Tracks because it's really
Right.
slippery.
Right.
You know, you'll. so
Yeah,
the
they
things
ask,
you
they
could-
tease me when I go in Miller's, because they got coffee there too, and there's a bunch of guys there that I talk to. You gotta take your rubbers off, Steiner. And I said, what do you mean? Well, you can't walk in a store with your rubbers on, they're all wet. And I'm going, well, look around.
Everybody's feet are all wet. Yeah.
Well, that's why there's some kid with a big mop going around.
Oh, yeah.
Give somebody a job, right?
Right, right.
Another
Sorry.
thing, no, that's awesome. I love that
Yeah,
input.
totally.
Another thing that I've heard is if go walking in a larger store, right, Walmart or Woodman's or
Oh, yeah.
things like that,
Mall.
or Farm and Fleet, whatever, and do your walking there.
Going to in the malls.
Sure.
Mall.
Yeah. Yep. Wherever.
Mhm.
And you still, it's better than nothing, right? I talked about
Sure
how
is.
the flat ground, it's less challenging, sure, but it's more challenging than not doing any walking at all. So I think that definitely has its benefits,
Absolutely.
especially in the colder months.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Or even in the hot
But then
months.
you.
Even in the hot months, sure. Yeah, absolutely. When it's too hot to be going out for a long walk.
Well, yeah.
And I get that treadmills too, treadmills, they're okay, but if you have any sort of balance or issues with dizziness, anything like that, that's not a good option, because walking in one place, it's kind of goofy.
Boring.
It's definitely boring, but also there are people where it's like, it kind of messes with their equilibrium a little bit, where they're like, they feel very odd on it, and you kind of walk like this, because you're bracing yourself. It's not natural walking.
Right.
I would way rather have someone go out to the store and go for a 10-minute walk than walk on the treadmill, because I think it's uncomfortable for a lot of people. Yeah,
Getting off of it is, yeah,
totally.
yeah.
It's like you just got off a boat too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Whoa. Yeah. Yep. Any other questions for me? Okay. Well, I appreciate you guys coming here, I really do. And if you guys have anything for me, I brought a bunch of resources here. So this right here, this is just Keys to Better Balance, just for the community, okay? So there's some really good, just kind of general info on here. The Fall Prevention Task Force put this together for people just like you guys who want more information. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep, and I'll get each of you guys one. I'm gonna give you guys some of the ballroom basics too, just because I think that it's nice to have some information on that. Hey, come on. There's one for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you.
So, some good stuff there. I have my card, I have some information up here on our clinics. If you guys want it, help yourselves, I can bring you guys at least my cards. Or if you guys have any questions,
Thank you.
do not hesitate to reach out.
So Susan Cricket, we used to live down the street from her.
Awesome. Very cool. Yeah.
Knew our dogs knew each other.
Your dogs know each other? That's fine. Okay. Anything else for you guys? Otherwise, I think you need
Oh,
another
thank
cup
you,
of
you
coffee.
did a very nice job.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
Very
I
nice.
appreciate all you guys coming, taking it out.
Appreciate your coming for just 3 people, that's.
Hey, that's 3 better than nothing, right? I'll take it.